Hello, welcome back to LiveENODING. In this episode, I want to do an exploration of the latest update of Sorcar add-on using Blender 2.82 Alpha. Sorcar actually, supposedly now it's already version 3. Um, it's slightly different than before. Actually, it's very interesting add-on. If you look at the thread at the forum at Blender Artists, you can see most of the older posts are no longer working. It's different now. Sorcar, it's actually much easier to use, and there are plenty of things that's really cool. Okay, so let's get started. So with Sorcar now, it actually have over 200 nodes already, I believe. Well, at least more than 100. But you can, if you want to explore Sorcar from the very beginning, I recommend you to simply start from inputs. This is kind of like a mesh generator in Sorcar. So, and the difference with Spreadshock, you need 2 nodes at least. With Sorcar, you only need 1 node. So let's see. For example, the good one to start is a circle. So you can see circle nodes. There is nothing in the 3D scene until you click on set preview. Now you can actually have a working nodes, and it's previewing the mesh data that you're working on, and you can make changes on the parameters and the radius. So that's pretty basics, pretty easy. On top of this, what you see, you can actually go inside this panel, side panel, and there are actually more. So the one that's blue is actually hidden. The one that's with the no blue, it's actually the one being shown. If you accidentally tap on this, you have an empty nodes. But you can also refill everything. So you have the name of object. You have all these extra parameters like generate UV. This guy actually have UV, and you can also generate things like the inside the fill or the triangle fan. So yeah, so that's really handy. So triangle fan or endgone. And on top of this, of course, you can start to add things like modify. You can try actually have like a multiple objects. So you have one, but if you set preview here, it will only display this guy. Can you shift? Maybe you cannot. So supposedly Sorcar, the way it works is just like a Houdini. It's really inspired by Houdini. So you have this object now. You can control the radius. You can change the subdivisions. All these primitives. That's really handy. I also really like the something like grid. Grid is really useful. They are on top of each other, of course, by default, and you need to maybe transform them. So apply transform is good, or use like a normal transformations. So it works. You can see the slot here. If it's wide, you're mostly working on the object level in the Sorcar. So you can now translate it, set preview, and then translate. So yeah, that's how it works. You can perhaps duplicate this, and then for the icosphere, set preview, and then move it to the side. So save this very quickly. Sorcar revisit. So we have 3 objects in the scene. There are plenty of nodes really to explore, like besides the inputs and transform, we kind of touch it. Things like transform to sphere, that's actually kind of interesting. Transform to sphere, I have to try this with the grid. Set preview. Now you can see the position of this guy will affect the result of the sphere, for example. And you can actually increase the resolutions of the grid, and they're all gonna give a different result. Okay, so that's kind of touching a little bit, and then you can continue. In the past with Sorcar, you need to worry about selections. like the component selections before operating on them. You need to go to object mode and then component modes and back and forth. But now you just need to mostly kind of working in the object level. Normally the way I search is using this guy. So if I want to extrude, I just kind of, because I remember the operation name, like inset, for example. However, it's a good idea to also know where they are. Here, object operators, component operators. All right, so this is useful and there are plenty. The one that you probably gonna be using a lot is probably like extrude faces, extrude, inset. Let's try with inset. So with this guy, so if you can see with the transform here, the order actually matters. You can transform over there and then you transform again over here. Okay, and then let's try circle with inset. So soon these nodes will grow. Circle and inset. Set preview. Only one preview at a time. So we can now control the thickness and the depth. So we have like a half diamond. So if you're thinking, okay, you like this and you want to add maybe like a wireframe, it's like a diamond, right? That's nice. And you want to have like a mirror in the z-axis. That's really nice. And then you're thinking, okay, now I want to add the depth. Suddenly it resets itself. Okay, so something to keep in mind. You cannot add modifier at this. I think with SphereChalk you can actually do that. You can actually bring this to SphereChalk and then SphereChalk back into Sorcar. I'll show you later. So in order to do the modifier, you can perhaps use the modifier over here then. Maybe mirror modifier. So it's almost like you have ability to work in object level while modifying the data underneath. So it's really, really powerful. So let's say we want to mirror it in the z-axis, set preview. Now you get the result. The history is all happening inside Sorcar. So you don't have the modifier stack growing, but it's all really happening inside here. It's really absolutely a powerful way of working. You probably never actually think that you'll be able to do this in Blender, but apparently you can. It's amazing. So with this guy, if I choose triangle fan and extrude individually, you get completely different result. So what is this? Like some kind of like a donut. If you duplicate this guy, however, and then make changes, of course it's only happening on this guy. This is like a new object already. Now you can build up the modifier as you like over here. Okay, cool. I like the decimate, how decimate actually make like something that's a bit more natural looking, and then you can continue with that. So that's just an idea. Let's continue. So individual or not individual, you get that. So you can, of course, you can piggyback this guy, like this one not individual, this one individual. So you have some kind of thickness and you have the depth, and on top of that you have this detail. So now you have something that's really a little bit like a cake or a bun. So it's smooth. Very, very, very powerful way of working, I guess. So this is only really, I'm just gonna touch the basic. I'm not gonna jump into looping yet. Maybe looping is gonna be for the next one. And noise also, the way you use multiple value in Sorcar is slightly different. You need to build an array. So this is how you build like a list of values. Random also working slightly differently. So there is a random. So random, select random and randomize transform. Okay, I haven't talked about select random yet. I haven't talked about selection. So let's talk about selections. Mastering selections and kind of masking the components is really powerful in Sorcar. So let's look at this icosphere. By default, if you build something and then go to hit tab, you can see it's selecting everything. So by default, it's selecting everything. So you can work from there and then deselect your components, or you can actually deselect all using select all and then toggle to deselect. You can actually do it this way, like so with the icosphere, I'm gonna deselect all the components. And which components are we deselecting is you can actually control it from here, selection type. That's really important. Maybe it should be on, and then you deselect the face, for example. So I really deselect everything, and then I want to extrude, for example, or select random. First of all, select random. Now it's selecting random. By default, it's selecting random at 50%. You can go increase it or decrease it. And then on top of that, you can use things like inset or extrude. Those two. Set preview. Now thickness and depth. Okay. Yeah, so this is really quite powerful. And for each operations, normally it will remember what's previously being selected. You can then use something like a loop or some kind of logic. But for now, you can actually just use like a piggyback. So you can have multiple of these. In the future, you can use a loop, so you don't, for each iterations, you don't need to do this. So select all, deselect all. You can select all, but in this case, we are already selecting something and then performing this inset. If I plug this into this guy and then display this guy, you can see it's continue working based on that selections. So if, let's say originally we select 80%, oops, 80%, and then we select 60% over here of what previously selected. Okay. Yeah, it's actually, yeah, I think it's selecting what's previously selected. And then I continue over here and select even less. Maybe in this case, it should be deselect. And this is also deselect. So 50% from previous. And then, so finally we have this thickness and depth. So it's getting smaller and smaller because the surface area is getting smaller. Be careful, you can easily have surface that doesn't look nice like that. If it's too small already, so have some really small value over here. And you can add random, like extrude randomly. Maybe should I do that now? We don't have random value anymore, I don't think. So now we have just like a number. Oh, okay, we have random over here, which is, there's a red value, should mean something. Red value maybe can be affected by the seed number or something. We cannot set the minimum and maximum, or I don't know yet. So there's a seed. Oh well, we probably need to use loop for that. But this guy, okay, let's select the last one and then L until we select all of them. So let me explain this once again. So we transform our grid, our icosphere, and then deselect all faces, and the next one should be working on faces. and then we do a little bit of inset with depth, and then we go to the next one and actually deselect, maybe deselect 60%. Still working on the previous. We can randomize the seed. So depth, you can go in, go out, maybe go in, and then this one, selecting even less, deselecting, and then thickness and depth. So very cool. So you can go back to the icosphere and then increase the, you can easily end up with something like this. So you should be careful because the way it operates on the area, still kind of interesting. And then you can for example just apply the same operations for this guy. So select all of this, duplicate it, all right. So that's our grid. Now it's completely exploded. You can actually use smooth operations to try to avoid something like this, or just be more careful with this value. Because we need to keep everything inside the boundary, otherwise it goes over and then okay, it doesn't know what to do. It's probably safer, instead of using inset, we are actually using, we should be using like extrude, safer that way. And with this select random, maybe we also need to specify face. So only working on the face. So maybe okay with this grid, because it seems doesn't like inset so much, not too much maybe. So we insert it once, twice. Let's use extrude. Extrude faces, extrude region, maybe extrude region with string and fatten. Okay, let's look at it here. Okay, cool. Value. Okay, this doesn't have any effect, so zero it out. So we have in and out. Okay, cool. I like this. We have string pattern. Okay, and select less randomly, and then one more extrude region. Set preview. Okay, we extrude once again, and maybe one more, and we use the extrude individual. Preview, and then extrude. And then finally inset. So for now, inset and extrude is really what we can use. I mean, it's the easiest one to use. Okay, somehow inset, it could be a bug, but I don't know, maybe it's selecting something that's completely destroy our geometry. Maybe the surface was too small, but yeah, you can see it goes very, very quickly. Some actually with the Sorcar, you can actually collapse this, and it's probably easier to read. So that's H, but I like to keep it like this while learning. So we covered a little bit of input, transform, selections, very powerful selection. There are so many options here. Select face by size, select by area. I wrote a bit of blog covering what I just talking about. Selection, if you master the selections, you will be better. And then there's also this Sorcar wiki that's still empty. Feel free to have a look. Follow Punya Aachman and then download the latest Sorcar. So we haven't touched on the flow. With flow, you can quickly make like an array and do an iteration. So you, instead of having this multiple nodes, you just use iterations and loop. Modifier, feel free to look at it yourself. Oh, there is one that's really powerful. I forgot to mention. So let's go back to our bun here. Remesh. Voxel remesher is in Blender 2.81. So this is really powerful. Look at this. So you can have control over the voxel. Hold shift while doing this because you might get this number that's too small and Blender will crash. So you can voxelize anything. If you want to do a little bit that's crazier early, I mean, I work with sphere chalk and animation nodes as well. So with sphere chalk, things are different. Sphere chalk is really good actually with, so you can start with something with like a box, and then you can use like a B-mesh, and you can use random positions. Here, enable merge, right? And let's work with this. Create random positions, plug this into the matrix, and the box also can be random. And then let's move these positions to the side. So that's random, right? It's a single object. And then you can bring it into Sorcar. Oops. So Sorcar have objects ins as well, I believe. Object, so object, custom object. Grab our objects from sphere chalk. Set preview. Okay, we have the one from sphere chalk can be hidden. That's intermediate objects, and the ones inside Sorcar is called alpha 001. So we can operate on this guy. Just use voxel remesher. Set preview. Oh, it failed. Interesting. Oh no, still working. Okay, good. Maybe it cannot be hidden. All right. Okay then, cannot be hidden, then it should be just wireframe. Display as wireframe or, yeah, wireframe. So this object from sphere chalk can be randomized and should update in Sorcar. How to update it? Oh, changing the value. Okay, cool. Sorcar tends to go into components level. Now this guy is also wire. I want that to be solid. So random position in sphere chalk with randomize. For the randomize, you can randomize the scale as well. Randomize the seed. And then, yeah, that's what I was expecting. But this guy is also changing into wire. Oh well, this funny that we need to have this display. Maybe Sorcar have like a visibility control. Setting, set selection, transform, modifier, utilities. I guess don't worry about that for now. But basically, you can quickly remesh whatever you created using sphere chalk. So yeah, that can be really powerful. Yeah. simply play around with this. It's really powerful add-on, the way they can work together. Hopefully makes Blender become more powerful tool with when you're working procedurally with nodes. Sometimes the order of operations can confuse the nodes at this point. So sometimes the sphere chokes being created first and then on the Sorcar, but it's okay. Just try it anyway. It's never hurt to learn something. So box. I want to try something. Yeah, so okay with the box. Box is always missing something in sphere choke. I think it should actually have this ability to just scale. And then once you have this, you can randomize matrix move. You can use matrix normal. Just do it like this. And then now this is a single object, and then back to Sorcar, change this value. There we go. Some kind of mesh. Crazy looking mesh. Okay, so that's a quick look at Sorcar add-on in the latest Blender 2.8 T2 Alpha. This is Sorcar version 3 point something, but it's a lot easier to use. There's a lot of things that you need to revisit and learn. Maybe on the next video I'll talk about a little bit about loop, and then maybe in the next video I can actually model something that's a little bit more useful. But this is, if you just started with Sorcar, this is a good way to learn. Simply just jump into it, try the nodes, and have fun. All right. So thanks again for tuning in. Hopefully this is useful. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.